PodCastle, episode 935, for Tuesday the 17th of March 2026. Arachnomorphosis by Beth, read by Tatiana Gray and produced by Eric Valdes. Rated PG, with a content note for spiders. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to PodCastle, the flying castle of fantasy fiction. I'm your host, Matt Dovey, and it is my privilege to present for your enjoyment Arachnomorphosis by Beth, narrated by Tatiana Gray. This story was first published in Strange Horizons, February 2025. Beth is an archivist and author. Her stories have appeared in venues such as PodCastle, Escape Pod, Cast of Wonders, Clarksworld, Lightspeed, Apex, Strange Horizons, and Horton's The Year's Best Science Fiction and Fantasy. She loves chocolate, hiking, and checking out too many books from the library. You can find her online at bethgoda.com. Tatiana Gray is a critically acclaimed actress of stage, screen, and the audio booth. She's been nominated for dozens of fancy awards, but hasn't won a single damned thing. She lives in Brooklyn, New York. See more about Tatiana at tatianagray.com. And now pay attention, for our tale is about to begin, and you haven't told anyone before.
Arachnomorphosis by Beth, narrated by Tatiana Gray. At night, Olivia becomes a spider. She scurries down San Francisco streets, floats gently between cotton candy-colored houses, and hides behind signs for trendy restaurants like Trough and Instance. By day, she works as a software engineer for a company that rents out kitchenware and other home goods. In her spare time, she edits a periodical called Non-Random Number Generator, which showcases the poetry of local writers, but only if the poems involve the number 99. They get a surprising amount of submissions. It's the night that's tricky. She lopes, 8-legged, her steps tapping out a metrical line. Spondee, spondee, spondee. The city is no place for a spider. At a taco party in a new restaurant in the Mission, Olivia contemplates the problem of her nocturnal transformations.
"Are you okay?"
asks Stanley.
"You've been kind of quiet."
One of Stanley's friends has rented out the back room of the restaurant for a birthday party. Tables with austere bowls of salsa and tortilla chips line the walls, but no one is sitting down. There must be 50 people milling about. Olivia feels underdressed in her jeans and purple hoodie. Olivia and Stanley have been dating for 2 months, but Olivia feels things are not quite working out. There isn't anything wrong with their relationship. Stanley is considerate and smart, an outdoorsy programmer who loves pho. They see each other 3 times a week, hiking in the hills, eating brunch, eggs Benedict for him, waffles for her, watching horror movies while soaking in the enormous clawfoot tub nestled in his apartment. They've never had a fight. But the relationship is, somehow, lackluster. Olivia finds the lack of books in Stanley's apartment disconcerting. She knows this is unfair. Also, he has an annoying habit of flossing in the living room. Maybe the real problem is that they only talk about programming, about work stuff, because what else are they going to say to each other? "I'm fine, just hungry," says Olivia. While walking to the fancy taco bar, squished into the back of the room, she is introduced to 7 people, and she feels obligated to smile each time. Eventually, she acquires a pumpkin and pork taco. It is delicious, with just the right amount of sour cream. After, Olivia spends the night at Stanley's place. While Stanley is asleep, Olivia turns into a spider. She scurries along a bookshelf full of IKEA decorations, everything large and distorted and in new colors, seen through her spider eyes. Her body feels light, as if she could float up and outward. Olivia ends up in the clawfoot tub. Its curves are monstrous. She wonders what will happen if Stanley wakes up and squishes her. In the morning, will her body transmute into that of a mangled woman, limbs crushed, blood seeping? It seems to her that people are obsessed with wounds on women's bodies. A prurient curiosity pushes people to ask, what really happened? They want the dark motivations, the details heaped upon each other like so many disembodied limbs. Did those women ever get to choose what others were told? If she is squished, people will say,
The boyfriend did it.
It's always the significant other. Reporters will question Stanley, wanting every detail.
How did you crush her? They will ask. By what implement? How did you manage to make her limbs so perfectly flat?
From her place in the tub, Olivia will not be able to say a thing. If she is dead, will she still turn into a spider at night? The morning arrives, and Olivia is in the tub, her human limbs hanging over the sides. Olivia waits until they've eaten breakfast before she breaks up with Stanley. He is surprisingly angry.
I didn't do anything wrong,
he keeps saying. He paces the apartment, all nervous energy. Olivia feels bad, but she also knows she doesn't love Stanley, and she probably never will. She can't imagine telling him about turning into a spider. You'll find someone else, she says, gently. As she leaves his apartment for the last time, the wind whispers past, bringing in the fog. At work, Olivia is distracted. She finds herself researching spiders when she should be coding. She learns some spiders are social, creating massive webs together. The female spiders will guard their egg sacs as a team, a horde of warriors. It occurs to Olivia, in one embarrassing moment, that she does not even know which species of spider she transforms into. Some spiders can be identified by the webs they make, but Olivia has never tried to make a web. Because of an error in her code, 3 planetary mixers get shipped to the wrong address. Her manager is not pleased. Olivia spends a breathless 2 hours hunting down the bug, downing a cup of black tea without even realizing it's in her hand. Normally, she enjoys her job, but recently, she's been making simple mistakes, which is disconcerting. Every year, she has an existential crisis, which she cannot bring herself to take too seriously, but which often revolves around her work. Is the best use of her brief time on Earth really to make sure mixers get delivered to the correct place? Shouldn't she have a productive and healthy hobby, like cross-country biking? She spends a lot of time knitting sweaters while watching baking shows, even though she rarely bakes. She could be making something useful in her spare time. Perhaps vegetables or tables. Homegrown organic vegetables to put on her sturdy yet elegant oak table. At least she has her magazine, non-random number generator, which staves off some of these feelings of inadequacy. As always, she comes to the same conclusion. that she is an insignificant human in a world made of beautiful things, and that maybe it's okay to love baking shows. Before going home, she learns one last spider fact. Many female spiders are much larger than their male counterparts. Olivia meets her date outside the Conservatory of Flowers. Sekani is charming and good-looking, with nails painted glittery blue. Olivia spent too much time getting ready, putting on makeup and scrubbing it off again until her face got that raw red look, which required more makeup to hide. She finally settled on a peach lip gloss and minimal mascara. Sekani works for a dog-walking company and makes art in his spare time. Sculptures from found objects. On his phone, Sekani shows Olivia a picture of one of those sculptures made from discarded taco wrappers. It is surprisingly beautiful, painted to look like a galaxy full of stars. Olivia pulls out the latest copy of Non-Random Number Generator and flips to her favorite poem, about 99 leaves that fall every year of a woman's life. "Did you write this?" asks Sekani. "Oh, no, says Olivia. "I'm just the editor." "Even harder," says Sekani. Sekani asks for a copy of the magazine, which he tucks into a beat-up book bag. Olivia likes the way that Sekani holds himself, easygoing and confident. She likes how Sekani taps his chin when he's thinking, and how he lets his dreams get so big. "I'd love to see my pieces in museums around the world," says Sekani. "The Guggenheim, MoMA, the Stedelijk." Olivia is hyper-aware of Sekani's every word, every movement. There is so much laughter that Olivia feels light. They talk for an hour before even entering the Conservatory of Flowers. The inside of the conservatory is heavy with humidity. Ancient skylights framed in white let in the sun. Plants of all shapes and sizes bloom. Despite the name, there aren't all that many flowers. Instead, huge leaves and other greenery dominate the rooms. Olivia tries to pay attention to Sekani, who is looking at each plant with open wonder and curiosity. She tries to read the species' names. No matter how hard she concentrates, her mind turns to arachnoid thoughts. The Conservatory of Flowers must be an amazing place for spiders. In the room with the giant water lilies, Sekani tentatively reaches out for Olivia's hand. His hand is warm and dry. So close to him, Olivia can smell Sekani's lavender shampoo. She wants to tangle her arms around his waist, like the creeping vines twining all around them. Sekani's phone buzzes. The case is mottled like ancient stained glass. He grabs it with his free hand, his other hand still firmly in Olivia's. His eyes widen. "Crud. I have to go." Sekani has a dog-walking appointment on the other side of the city. Olivia is charmed by Sekani's use of crud, spoken with the vim of a harsher swear. She hugs Sekani, her heart jumping, then watches as he hurries out the door. Once Sekani is gone, Olivia stares at the giant water lilies. Underneath are hundreds of spines, some hidden underwater. They remind her of spider legs. Olivia first turned into a spider when she was 16. She cowered, alone, surrounded by distorted objects, quivering through the ceaseless night. Her world had become only this, a shaft of moonlight, an edge of fear. She couldn't understand what was happening. She thought it might never stop. When it ended, the dawn seeping under her rainbow curtains, she promised herself it would never happen again. She buried the experience under every possible reassurance, tried her best to forget. She turned into a spider again when she was 18, her first week of college. And again at 20. Each time, she pretended it was happening to someone else. Now, she transforms into a spider every night, and she can't ignore it anymore. Olivia walks to her favorite bakery, humming under her breath in time with the noise of the city. She buys 2 chocolate croissants, one for her and one for Sakani. They've had 10 dates so far, the last one picnicking in Golden Gate Park, with cheese and green olives and a for serious checkered blanket. Olivia has come to rely on hearing Sakani's laugh. It's like her whole life is tied up in that laugh. Like the sky opens up for her, and that laugh rains down on her, and everything is okay. It's okay. The first time Olivia slept over at Sakani's house, she, of course, turned into a spider. She woke up on the kitchen floor, human again, with Sakani standing over her. "Breakfast?" asked Olivia, smiling and pulling out a frying pan from a lower cabinet, as if it was a punchline to a joke she'd forgotten to tell. It was clear Olivia had been sleeping on the floor, but Sakani hadn't pushed her for answers. One day, Olivia will tell Sakani about her transformations, and she will say, "Watch me in the night. It's almost like I disappear." She has no clue when the appropriate time to tell Sakani will be. It's not like there's advice for this sort of thing. "Please, Google," she thinks, "tell me how many months you should date before you reveal to your boyfriend that you spontaneously turn into a spider." It is on a weekend trip to Monterey that Olivia decides she will not turn into a spider. Sakani and Olivia have seen the amazing aquarium, one of the best in the world, with sharks, otters, all manner of colorful fish, and a touch pool of rays that may glide under your fingers if you stay still enough, their slick bodies, like nothing Olivia has ever felt before. They have walked along the old canning rows, where a ghostly smell of fish still lingers, and dipped their feet in the ocean. In the Airbnb, Olivia nestles next to Sakani in bed, waiting to fall asleep. She will not turn into a spider, she vows. This trip has been wonderful, and she will not spoil it. Of course, the strange forces that control her body don't care about Olivia's desires. In darkness, she awakens with 8 legs, her human heart replaced with a tube-shaped spider one. She wonders, as she scurries under a table, why this keeps happening. What has brought on this unique suffering? What wrongness inside her? Maybe it wouldn't be so unbearable if there was anyone else like her, if she didn't have to endure this alone. Olivia tries all the things. She contacts an arachnologist to subtly ask how one stops turning into a spider, but her questions are a mix of the oddly specific and maddeningly cryptic, and soon the arachnologist stops replying to her increasingly desperate emails. She spends hours doing fruitless internet searches until she ends up on a website about spiders and spells. Feeling ridiculous, she buys 3 bulbs of garlic and orders an amethyst online. Using her spaghetti pot in lieu of a cauldron, she waits until the brightest time of day and heats everything up. She sets a timer on her phone, feeling like she should instead be using an ancient hourglass or something, feeling like she shouldn't have tossed in that oregano from the dollar store. She waits for hours, watching the water bubbling, wondering if she's supposed to feel something. At the side of her bed, she prays, even though she hasn't prayed since she was a kid, and she isn't sure if she still believes in God. Her prayer is mostly an apology. She can't stop listing everything she's ever done wrong. She tries to ask for something, forgiveness, a cure, the strength to get through. But she's out of practice. Her murmurs stop abruptly, and she's left feeling more alone than before. She studies spiders at the insect house at the zoo, watching how they move, the shapes they make. Outside of the insect house, there's a red rope climbing structure shaped like a spider web. When she was a kid, she walked up the edge, pretending it was a tightrope, falling again and again, full of joy. She stops eating gluten. She walks backwards for a day. She cleans out every spider web from her house. She tries anything she can think of. It doesn't have to make sense. She just wants to feel like she's doing something. Like it's possible she might one day stumble upon the solution. Everything fails. Of course, it all fails. Finally, she finds a group run by a woman named Shivali. The group description is oblique, but Olivia knows it's for women like her. Women who turn into spiders. There's something too familiar about the words, too full of her own experience. Olivia saves the information, even though she knows she'll never go. What's the point? If they are still turning into spiders, they haven't found a cure either. Maybe she just isn't ready to talk about it with anyone. At night, she curls her spider limbs under her abdomen as tight as they'll go. She tries to pray again, but then remembers she has no voice. The real problem with morphing into a spider, it turns out, is the lack of sleep. Spiders can't even close their eyes. Every night, Olivia has woken up and roamed. For spider bodies don't like to stay where they don't feel safe. Her sleep is disjointed and brief. Some nights, she doesn't sleep at all. In the morning, she is groggy and disoriented, twitching limbs that no longer exist. Impacted by her troubled sleep and the stress of her job, she falls into a depression. She spends more time in bed and less time with Sakani. Her texts are only strings of emojis because she can't be bothered to form actual words. And then they cease entirely. One day, Sakani knocks on her door. At first, Olivia doesn't want to let him in. The apartment is untidy, with plates piled in the sink, her laundry basket overflowing with dirty clothes. Sakani won't stop knocking. Eventually, Olivia opens the door. "I wanted to check on you," says Sakani, moving a stack of magazines to sit down on the couch. Olivia hasn't returned his texts. She hasn't seen Sakani all week. Sakani's face, so impatient at the door, starts to slide into worry. "I'm fine," says Olivia, pulling at the sleeve of her sweatshirt. Sakani sits with Olivia, not saying anything. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" But Olivia can't tell him everything. "I haven't been sleeping well," she says, which is true. "I'm sorry." Olivia isn't sure what she's apologizing for. Maybe everything. She wants to tell Sakani how much she cares about him, but she's so tired that she can't find the words. Sakani cleans up the dishes and makes Olivia dinner in the tiny kitchen. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and sauce from a jar. Sakani eats most of his meals out. Olivia hasn't been hungry lately, but she eats anyway. "What if we go to the beach this weekend?" asks Sakani. It seems like an impossibly difficult trip, but Olivia agrees. When Sakani leaves, Olivia watches TV until her eyes burn. If she doesn't fall asleep, she can't become a spider. What's the point of trying to sleep anyway? The next morning, she drags herself to work. It feels like all the important events of her life are happening without her. The earth keeps rotating, the world keeps going, and she moves with it, without having to raise any of her limbs. When Sakani comes over on Saturday, he's all bright smiles. They sing along to the radio on the drive to the beach. Olivia rolls down her window, feeling better than she has in a long time. They dip their toes in the ocean and build a sand castle decorated with seaweed. On the way home, they grab burritos. But once she's back in her apartment alone, Olivia can't summon up any energy. She wishes she could cry, but she can't even do that properly. Instead, she stares at a wall, her thoughts a jumbled mush. She wants her life back, the life where she gets lunch with Sakani on Sundays and kisses him in Golden Gate Park, the one where she reads poetry in the evenings and edits her magazine, the one where she feels something, anything. That night, when she becomes a spider, Olivia stops and notices. She feels the cool air against her body, the comforting touch of shadows. She smells the musk of her apartment through her legs and pedipalps, the hint of peppermint from her nighttime tea, scalding and abrasive. The world looks different through spider eyes. Her vision catches on angles of light and dark. Her bed is not a bed, but a wilderness. Perhaps she must learn to love her spider body. In her lunch hour at work, Olivia reads submissions for non-random number generator while eating a bagel with lox and cream cheese. She admires the minimalist nature of the current submission. It is exactly 99 words long. The poem reminds Olivia of her minimalist lifestyle fantasy, to only own what you need and nothing further. She has read articles about people who only own 100 distinct objects. She pictures how many spoons she has, how much underwear. If she was only allowed to have 100 items, the spoons and the underwear would already be like half her things. This will never be her life. She can't give up her hundreds of books, her cute bowls with the pandas painted on, half of a best friend forever necklace from 2nd grade, the terrible holiday sweaters, especially the Halloween one with the singing candy corn. But if she could, wouldn't she have more control over her life? She puts down the pile of submissions, tempted to lay her head down for just a moment. She has been tired, so tired, behind on everything. Devore walks into the break room, and Olivia looks up, glad to see him. Devore exudes a certain calmness with his tweed jackets and gray hair. He is one of those people who everyone instantly likes. Even Denise, who is grumpy about everything from almond milk to public transportation, who on a daily basis throws her shoes at the wall of her cubicle, is fond of Devore. "What's that?" he asks, pointing to her pile of submissions. Olivia explains about non-random number generator. "No way," says Devore, delighted. "Malcolm submitted there once, I think. I had no idea that was your project." Malcolm is Devore's husband. They've been happily married for 22 years. Whenever someone at the office is having a difficult time in the dense forest of despair that is dating, Devore's relationship is held up as a great talisman of hope. "Maybe you'll find someone like that," they'll say to each other, eyes shining. "Maybe you'll have a relationship like Devore's." Olivia wants to ask his advice on a number of important topics, laying out her questions like sticks of prayer incense. How do I get my shit together? How does one survive the cataclysm that is love? What makes life meaningful in a real and true way, in the way where you get up in the morning practically healing over with purpose? And where do you buy those tweed jackets that never wrinkle? It is impossible to bring up any of this without seeming like a desperate weirdo, so instead, she asks about his day. Basking in the atmosphere of ease that Devore exudes like a mystic aura, Olivia feels better for a few minutes. Back at her desk, she takes a deep breath and gets to work. The trick to sleeping as a spider, it turns out, is to make a web. Spiders can't sleep unless they feel safe. That night, silk builds in her spinnerets, warm and comforting. She weaves her web. Each web is unique, with strange angles and tiny strands glittering like hoarfrost. At the center of her web, Olivia gains a new, vibrative sense. Every moment is catalogued by her body. Nothing can get close to her without her knowing. Sleeping as a spider is strange. She cannot close her eyes. She drifts, half aware, legs twitching. In the morning, she wakes by the side of her bed. Spider silk falls lightly against her elbow, like a kiss. Now that Olivia can sleep, everything is easier. She stops making so many errors at work. She sees Sakani 3 times a week. They love to people watch at museums and walk through the city when the sun comes out. She starts seeing a therapist who she does not tell about becoming a spider. It is not enough. Olivia cannot understand her spider nature. What terrible part of her has caused this nightly metamorphosis? Is there something wrong with her, some monstrous thing that is all her fault? Olivia often comforts herself by thinking that hard things are part of the human experience, that other people have gone through what she's gone through and survived. But perhaps becoming a spider is her own special sorrow. There's Shivali's group, the one for women like her. But are they really going through the same thing? Would they understand? How can she talk to strangers about her problem if she can't even tell the people she loves? I did not choose this, she thinks. Olivia and Sakani are sprawled under stars after a midnight picnic of cheese and pineapple and chocolate croissants from the bakery with the 3 silver cupcakes on the door. Olivia fits right into the hollow that Sakani's body makes, as if they are 2 pieces of the same sculpture, as if an artist created them to curve into each other, just like this. In the moment before Olivia drifts off to sleep, she jerks herself awake. She can't sleep here in this unknown place. What will happen if she undergoes her secret metamorphosis? "What's wrong?" asks Sakani, half asleep himself. Olivia doesn't mean to tell Sakani the truth. She doesn't want to ruin the best thing in her life. Uncontrollably, the words come tumbling out, build on each other, wave after wave. She tells of 8 twilit legs and shards of light seen through too many eyes, of monstrous wanderings, of loneliness, fear, of losing sleep and dreams and everything, of flying weightless across the sky, of fragile webs and the vibrations she feels even in her waking hours, of disorientation and desire. She speaks until there is nothing left, like a spinneret run dry, her strands spun too tightly to pull them back. "There's something wrong with me," says Olivia, "and I can't fix it. Nothing I've done has fixed it." Sakani takes Olivia in his arms, back into the hollow where Olivia fits so well. "Don't cry," says Sakani. "The night is too beautiful for that." Even this Olivia can't do right. Sakani pulls Olivia to her feet. "Run with me," he says. And then they are dashing over grassy hills, shadows making secrets of everything. When they stop, both panting, Sakani smiles. "I just wish you'd told me sooner." Before Olivia can answer, Sakani kisses her, and it's like the sky opens up and the stars become one and beam their light down right on her. "It's okay," says Sakani. "How can you say that? I'm a monster." "No," says Sakani, hardness in his voice. "I have known monsters." "It's this part of me I can't change, that I've never asked for," says Olivia. They sit in silence, listening to waves breaking against the bay. Olivia shivers, then settles against Sakani. What does it feel like to make webs? He asks. When the sun rises, casting light over the bay like so many lighthouses signaling home, Olivia and Sakani stand and stretch. Olivia's foot has fallen asleep. Why did you wait so long to tell me? Asks Sakani. How long was it before you told your parents, your friends? Olivia presses her calf, rubbing life back into it. She laughs in that way one does when trying not to cry. I haven't told anyone. Gently, he says, it might help to talk to someone about it. Maybe someone who's going through the same thing. On her phone, Olivia pulls up the information on Shivali's group. Silently, she hands it over. Sakani brightens. He asks her how many times she's gone. She shakes her head. I can't. She doesn't want to explain the knot in her chest every time she thinks about going, how it feels impossible to speak the words to describe her experience, how she's kept it locked tight inside her for so long. Sakani doesn't push. They'll be there when you're ready, he says. Shivali's group meets at her place on the third Thursday of every month. When Olivia knocks on the door, unsure what to expect, her breath temporarily leaves her body. But Shivali, an elderly woman with a sleek purple scarf, smiles at her and ushers her in without Olivia having to say a word. Women of all ages chat over slabs of carrot cake and decaf coffee, spilling themselves onto the mess of pillows and blankets on Shivali's floor. Shivali introduces her wife, who has a laugh like the soft roar of a timpani. You don't have to spend the night, says Shivali. Whatever is comfortable for you. But of course, you are welcome to stay as long as you'd like. As night falls, the women settle down, claiming sleeping spots within the nest of pillows and blankets. 2 people on opposite ends of the couch. Olivia lies down, squishing herself against the wall. She is the last to fall asleep, gazing at the breathing forms of all these women. When she wakes, it is still dark, and Olivia is a spider. As she scuttles over mountain ranges of blankets, other forms crystallize in her fractured eyes. Other spiders, like her. Olivia feels the vibrations of her spider sisters, and although they cannot speak, she knows what they would say. You are not alone. In 2 years, Olivia will marry Sakani. They will have their ceremony at the Conservatory of Flowers, surrounded by loved ones, both shining with joy. The entire wedding party will ride off on bikes in their fine suits and dresses. Upon return from their honeymoon, Olivia will convince Sakani to live a minimalist lifestyle, which will last 3 weeks before they give in. It is the blankets that do it. Sakani cannot live without at least 10 blankets in the house, in all shades of fuzz. They will grow older together, grow closer. And when Olivia wakes in the morning on the floor in the kitchen, the bathroom, the office, a bit of spider silk stuck to her ankle or tangled in her hair, Sakani will hold her until she stops shivering. Olivia will continue going to Shivali's house on the third Thursday of every month, making friends among the women there. But that is all in the future, which Olivia has not seen, but which sits inside her, like a seed waiting for light to bloom. In Shivali's house, the spider women build a web, gathering strands like locks of hair, spinning loom-like together, making as one what they could never make apart. They sleep, safe, their spider limbs dreaming, their spider eyes open, their spider bodies resting against strands soft as clouds. Then, As one, they dart out into the night, floating feather-like between buildings, sweeping up the city in their many segmented legs, reaching to each other across the darkness.
And welcome back. That was Arachnomorphosis by Beth, and if her name feels familiar, it's because it's not quite 6 months since she was last here with her story Mycelium as episode 911. Before that, there was also 724, The Cinnamon Thread, and 674, Putting Secrets from Stones. There's also 4 on Escape Pod and 3 on Cast of Wonders, so if you enjoyed today's, there are plenty of other stories to tickle your eyes and ears like silk strands across a path. And dozens more stretching back a decade at her website, bethgoda.com. Even, if you have been around long enough to remember this name, one at Mothership Zeta, the too short-lived EA magazine. Beth sent us these notes on Arachnomorphosis. It seems like every time I go to San Francisco, I end up writing a story. A couple of years ago, I was there for my brother-in-law's wedding. In the car on the way to the rehearsal dinner, Arachnomorphosis started writing itself in my brain. This was after a long period in which I hadn't written much at all, so this flow of words felt like a miracle. Many of the settings and details for this story were taken from that trip. The tacos, the lilies with their underwater spines, the delightful bike ride to the wedding venue with everyone in their suits and dresses. My brother-in-law had a lovely wedding at the Conservatory of Flowers, and there I was, secretly planning how I would put this wonderful place into a story and thinking about spiders. Thank you, Beth, for the context and the story. By happenstance and coincidence, this story ended up landing in a week where it had a lot of resonance for me. After a difficult conversation where a friend cut ties with me after 30 years and tried, initially, to blame it on the way one of my kids acts during a meltdown. I expect this is not the metaphor Beth intended, but personally I subscribe to the idea that art is what we call the space between author and audience, the alchemy that happens when each brings their own personal baggage and perspective to inform either the creation or the comprehension of a piece, whatever the medium. Less death of the author, more nap time of the author. Inevitably, then, given my much discussed identity crisis of the last few years, I can't help but see parallels to the experience of neurodivergence here, and specifically autistic burnout, which, oh joy, I'm sitting in right now after a brutal 2025 in my professional life. Each night, once the pressures of the world are shut out and I am at home in the dark, I transform from the person I've been all day into something quiet and tired. Like Olivia, this happened to me occasionally in the past, and I, too, ignored it. Pretended it wasn't happening, buried it under reassurances and excuses. Like Olivia, it now happens too often to ignore. It keeps me up at night, unable to sleep because I am stuck in fight or flight mode, and the ensuing exhaustion, and the need to pretend to the wider world that none of this is happening, I'm normal, I'm fitting in and getting on, becomes a downward spiral. It keeps me apart from people, deliberately excusing myself from company and friendship because I know that one day they will need me, and I will be unable to respond, too lacking in energy or rest to cope. To step outside the story parallels for a moment, one of the fundamental shifts in my thinking recently has been the understanding that for me, it is not necessarily about not having the time to do something, but not having the brain. That I might have a free slot on my calendar, but I don't have the mental and emotional energy available to deal with whatever is being asked, and that I need that time to instead revert to a puddle and recover, like Deep Space Nine's Odo. And like Olivia, all this comes with a deep sense of shame. Fear of others' reactions grounded in an internalised ableism that's been ground into me by the world like dust into my skin and my lungs. To open up and be honest and vulnerable about it is hard, so very hard, and sometimes I have to very deliberately and consciously remind myself that the reason I do that is for my kids. That yes, it is difficult, exhausting, and handicaps me in others' and society's eyes, but that those sorts of sacrifices are the admission price of being a parent, and that right now my primary purpose in life is is to do everything I can to protect my kids and prepare them for the world. Except that in our case, I also have to prepare the world for them. A task orders of magnitude bigger and like trying to break down a castle wall by throwing my body at it over and over, wherein I cannot hope to achieve anything alone but only by being part of enough weight, a big enough pile, to make the difference. Which is, of course, where our story leads us to. That solace is only truly found in the understanding born by shared experience. That bearing the weight of these disabilities is impossible alone, but that a scaffold can be built of mutual trauma and exhaustion that stabilises and supports us. That finding your tribe is a matter of life or death. If not literally, then at least in the difference between living and surviving. And that's why this week wounded me so much. It was an outrigger being removed, something I thought I could lean on, a weight-bearing pole of understanding and empathy that turned out, instead, to be one more sharp rock of ignorance to stumble on. And I'm already so very tired. That was our show for this week. On behalf of everyone at PodCastle, your co-editors were Nini Kamemia and Devin Martin, assistant editor Caitlin Zvanovic, audio engineers Eric Valdes and Wilson Fowley, and our many wonderful first readers, Andrew Cahoe, Balawan Conte, Craig Jackson, Amalia Harrington, Habiba Jakubo, Julia Patt, Kieran Corsini, Tanya Barry, Tava Nova, Tierney Bailey, Zeev Witties, and myself, Matt Dovey. Thank you for letting us share another story with you. PodCastle has long survived on donations alone, and even though there's ads now, subscribing through our Patreon remains the best way to ensure we can keep bringing you one story told well. And if you subscribe at the $7 tier, you can get rid of the ads again. So if you'd like to support what we and the rest of Escape Artists do, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/EAPodcasts through your browser to avoid paying the App Store fees. Prefer another method? There are details for supporting us via Twitch, Amazon Prime, Ko-fi and PayPal, all on escapeartist.net. Or you can reach out directly by email at donations@escapeartist.net with any questions, and someone will get back to you. The legal bit. PodCastle is part of the Escape Artists Foundation, a 501c3 non-profit, and this episode is distributed under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means you can share it, and please do, but you cannot sell it and you cannot change it. If you want specifics, check creativecommons.org. Our music is by Shiva in Exile. We'll be back next Tuesday with another fantastic tale. In the meantime, you might care to check out our sister podcasts, Escape Pod for science fiction, Pseudopod for horror, Cast of Wonders for YA speculative fiction, and Cat's Cast for speculative cat stories. If your heart belongs to us, though, we'll see you next week. Be safe and be kind.